Okay guys, I am super excited to bring you along for this new recipe. We are going to try our hand at making bologna. Bologna is something that the men in my life love. My husband and my son, they could live off of bologna. And I used to buy it for them, but ever since I started getting into, eating healthier and watching what's in our food, I quit buying bologna because, let's face it, it is not the healthiest thing in the world. So they want bologna and I just refuse to buy it. But I saw someone making bologna on YouTube. I will try to remember where I saw it, but I just happened to see it, and so then I researched it, a bunch of different recipes, and so this is kind of a mixture of a bunch of different people's recipes and takes on making bologna. So this is my version that I'm going to try out with you guys today, and I hope you stick around because at the end I am forcing my husband to taste test it for me, and I'll also have my son taste test it. So let's get started. In my stand mixer, I have my dough hook, and I have 2.5 pounds of meat of beef. I'm making a small, this is technically like a half recipe compared to the ones that I've seen. So about 2.5 pounds of hamburger, and this is the 73 hamburger. I'm not adding any pork. You could add pork, you could add ground chicken, you could add ground turkey, you can make it however you want because we're making it homemade. But I'm just using beef today. So it seems like it would be super simple. So the first thing we're going to do is turn it on low and just get everything working up a little bit. Now, I have ice. Some of the recipes called for just putting in water, but I like this idea, so we're going to add a little bit of ice, and this is going to help us get the consistency that we want and give it just the right amount of moisture. And I have a spoon to help get things going. Okay, now the next thing you need is 1/2 cup of dry milk. So I'm going to start adding that in, and that is supposed to act like our binder. A little bit more ice, and all that dry milk in there. A little more ice, and I'm going to turn it up just a little bit. Okay, now to this, I'm going to add a tablespoon of sugar. Get that in there, and that's just white sugar. And then I'm going to add 1¼ tablespoons of salt, and this is my Himalayan pink salt. Oh! Pretty sure I just put the 1/4 in there, but just in case, I'll add a little more. And then we're going to do a tablespoon of pepper. Some of the recipes called for white pepper and black pepper. I don't have any white pepper, so I'm just using my black. That in there. And then we're going to be doing a 1/2 teaspoon of sage. A teaspoon of ground coriander, a 1/2 teaspoon of cardamom, and a 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder. And I'm doing rounded teaspoons of the garlic. Actually, I'm going to put in 3/4 of a teaspoon of that. And then a tiny bit amount of clove. And when I say tiny, I mean like less than an eighth. It called for allspice. I don't have any allspice, so I'm using this instead. I think that would be considered like a dash clove. But turn up the thing a little bit. And we're going to let it get good. We're going to let it bind really well. Because bologna, it doesn't look like meat anymore, does it? And that's what we're trying to make this. We're trying to make it not look like meat anymore. I will say, it smells like bologna, if that's anything to go off of. Okay, so I have a regular little loaf pan, and this is what we are going to put our homemade bologna in. Now, of course, if you had casing and a way to make sausage, you could obviously make a big thing around bologna. I do not have one of those, so this is how I'm going to do it, but I think it'll work out good because sandwiches are square. So why wouldn't you want a square piece of bologna to go with your square sandwich? I think it's genius. So that is what I'm doing. Now, from what I read and watched, you don't want to have any air pockets. So you want to make sure you have it pressed as good as you can get it. Wow, this really smells dead up like bologna. That is pretty awesome. That excites me. Okay, now since this isn't quite a full recipe, or it isn't a full recipe, it's a half a recipe, it's not going to fill up the pan like the other recipes. So kind of just trying to make it an even loaf and do it that way, because I don't want it to come out too small or too short, if that makes sense. So, but I'm making sure that it is all packed in, because that will make for a good piece of bologna, because we want to be able to slice this, of course, for our sandwiches. Well, for my husband's and son's sandwiches. So I'm not big on bologna. I have to be in the mood for it. Sometimes I like it. Sometimes I could really do without. And here, until I figured out how to make it myself, it was definitely a without. But that's all there is to it. So this, my oven is preheating to 275. When it's done preheating, I'm going to stick this in and drop the temperature down to 250. And it's going to go at 250 for 3 hours. So at the 3-hour mark, I will take it out, let it cool, and then I'll bring you back so we can slice it up. You're wanting to get an internal temperature of 155. So have a meat thermometer, and it should take about 3 hours. So I will bring you back. So here's the bologna. I cut it in half after it went, and it went for a little longer than it was supposed to. Here's hubby getting ready to try it. So what do you think?
I'm going to stop filming now. It's fantastic.
Okay, so you saw my husband try his, and he had just gotten off work, so he was ready to eat and not be filmed. He's silly like that. But this is how I'm having mine. I made a fried egg sandwich, and it is, whew, it is so good. I fried mine, of course, but because I cooked it a little over, instead of at 155 stopping it, I accidentally let it go to more like 175 internal temperature. It still came out delicious. It's just more of a, it already has that fried bologna taste, which we always fry our bologna anyway, so it's delicious. And my husband loved it. My husband's coworker loved it because he had came in because he heard that the bologna was done. And my kids love it. So it is definitely a win-win. and I will definitely be making it again. My husband has already been asking me to make variations.